Assalamu alaikum.
Wa Islam wa rahmatullah. You're listening live, 87.7 FM, Ramadan FM. What's up, Riyaz? How's it going?
All right, long time, man. This is the first time it's over a year now, isn't it? Last Ramadan we did it together, but then you went to Jerusalem for a little while, didn't
you? So it's been a while, and it's all different this year because of obviously coronavirus. Everything has to be done differently.
It's surreal, isn't it? It's really weird. It's strange being in the house all the time. It's like you go out, you have to go out for your necessities. It's like dead out there. It's not hardly anyone around.
Yeah. I got a good meme by one of your friends.
Excuse me. Alhamdulillah.
Yeah. Hari Baji. He sent me. He goes, usually the shaitans are locked up before Ramadan, in Ramadan, but now we're locked up before Ramadan.
Well, shaitan is, before shaitan is.
Yeah.
The same one as well. It's quite funny. It's true though, isn't it? We're all locked up.
We're all locked up.
At least we're reconnecting with our family.
Two main reasons I could think of. One is we tend the masjids. Obviously, we're interacting. Secondly, we all live in extended families. Most of us Asian families anyway.
Yes.
So
that's the two main things. And also socializing. We like to socialize.
Yeah. This is part of our fitra,
part of our
culture.
Yeah.
We socialize. We hug, we shake hands, we embrace, all these things. So initially, even when we were encouraging some of the masajid to take a bit more progressive step, ease up. Some of the masjids, unfortunately, were carrying as completely as normal. But alhamdulillah, there were others as well. But there were others who, a minority, unfortunately, who were just carrying on as normal. There was no coronavirus.
We don't care. The thing is, I said, if we get it, we get it. Who cares? It's from Allah. But they don't use the akal, because at the end of the day, we have to take precautions when there's a virus. If there's a plague, we don't run to the plague. You know what I mean? So these guys are saying, forget plague, so what? They were so blasé about it. It was unbelievable.
And the thing was, in the beginning, obviously, the government were advising not to shake hands, wash your hands a lot. Obviously, that's what we're still hearing.
That's what we do anyway.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. So when I myself stopped, I refused to shake people's hands.
Yeah.
And the brothers who were practicing, they were getting, offended. And they were saying words like, this ain't tawakkul of Allah. And I'm thinking, what's happened to your akal? Your akal, Tawakkul doesn't mean that you do things like this. Tawakkul is you tie the camel first. Then exactly. you have the reliance on Allah. So you have to take the necessary precautions. You understand?
Of course. I mean, in the old days, apparently, in the times of the Sahaba, there was a plague which killed many Sahabas.
Yeah, there were.
What did they do in that time? You know more about it than I do. I know the story, but I'd rather you explain it because you know the Nisnad. So if you could explain to us, there was a plague at the time of the Sahaba, the Prophet peace be upon him passed away. The plague came. What happened in that plague? What did the Sahabas do in that situation?
Okay, so I done a bit of research on this when it was all kicking off. And obviously, like, some of the masajid were not taking the steps they should have. So alhamdulillah, there are scholars who've looked into it. And at the time of Hazrat Umar radiallahu anhu, the second caliph of Islam, when they took over the area of Sham, which is Lebanon, Palestine, Jordan, that region, they came out to meet Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, a great Sahabi. He was the leader of the army there, and he's from one of the 10 companions who were guaranteed paradise from Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Ashra Mubashara. So imagine his level of iman and his taqwa. So when he came, he met Hazrat Umar on the borders of Sham, called a place called Sarab, and he informed Hazrat Umar that there's a plague that's broken out. Many of our Muslims have died. Even the enemies who at that time they were fighting the Byzantine Empire, even they have been affected. So shall we carry on as normal? You know the famous hadith, don't enter the plague where there's a plague and don't come out. That hadith was not known to Hazrat Umar and the Sahaba at this moment in time.
Really?
At this moment in time. So this is how the story goes. So Hazrat Umar is making mashwara now. What should we do? Hazrat Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah, his opinion was, let's carry on. It's the qadr of Allah. It's the destiny from Allah, fate from Allah. Let's just carry on, see what happens. Hazrat Umar wasn't satisfied. He made mashwara consultation with the Ansar, the people from Medina, the Sahaba, and they said the similar thing as what Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah said. Thereafter, he still wasn't content, and then he said, gather the older Quraysh who embraced Islam. Mashrat al-Quraysh, they were called. So these were people in terms of Iman and Taqwa were way down the level. They embraced Islam after Fatih Makkah, when Makkah was conquered. But they had what? They had knowledge of practical knowledge, they had experience, they had wisdom, and they were older and they'd seen the world. So Hazrat Umar made mashwara with them, and all of them unanimously said, let's go back, we shouldn't enter the plague. So Hazrat Umar, he made the decision, I'm going with what these Mashrat al-Quraysh are saying. So imagine, he's got Abu Ubaidah bin Jarrah on one side, guaranteed Jannah, Iman, Taqwa's there, but he took his decision. And while all this discussion is happening, Abdurrahman ibn Auf, he's the one who narrated the hadith of don't enter the plague, area of plague, and don't come out of it. And he said, look, I know the hadith. And he mentioned the hadith. And obviously that put an end to everything. And Hazrat Umar, he thanked Allah that his decision was the same decision as the prophetic hadith. So, but just from this story, what you can get is Hazrat Umar took advice from those who had the most practical knowledge on the ground regarding this, not the person with the highest level of knowledge in Quran or in Hadith or in Taqwa. It's practical knowledge here. What's going to help the people. So this is what's the valuable
it's
lesson.
Authentic as well, isn't it?
Yeah. You can find this in the books. Yeah. So it just shows. So they were, even when this kicked off, some scholars were saying, okay, we should close the masjid. Some were saying, we will do it later on. But those scholars who were in touch with the specialists, we're not talking like the local GP down the road making mashura with him. You're talking people who know about corona, the specialists, surgeons, or whoever, professors. Or, that you should be making consultation with these people. And like, this is an airborne disease. It spreads rapidly by touching, by coughing, by sneezing. And if we're in the masjid, we're more prone than most people out there.
Yeah, of course, so, especially for Jummah.
Yeah, especially for Jummah. So some people even got offended when I sent out a message that I'm surprised some masjids are carrying on as normal. And I said, look, this is what I'm just airing my opinion from the research I've done from the scholars who are saying we're at high risk, we should change things. But this is how it goes. But we can gauge a lot from that story, how we should always be proactive as well, do things. And you should probably see in the texts going around at the moment who introduced quarantine.
Yes.
Just come Ibn Sina Avicenna, as you know. Apparently I knew the Italians implemented it, but I never knew Ibn Sina actually came up with the idea of quarantine.
Even the word quarantine was an Arabic word. What was the word?
No, the quarantine was an Italian word, but they got it. Quarantine meaning 40 in Italian, but they got it from the Arabic 40 they used to use. So
it was 40 days, was it? What was it again? Remind me, I forgot.
Yeah, so they were quarantining them for 40 days. That's what was happening. Yeah. So brothers get a bit worried when they hear 40 days. They think they're going Jamaat. So I had a good joke about that one as well. They go, if you get an email saying knock knock, is the Tablighi brothers working from online from home? Don't open the email.
I've seen that.
So that's
there's some ridiculous ones going around now. There's, that letter we got from Boris Johnson. I got it.
The post.
WhatsApp message going around said don't open it because Boris Johnson had coronavirus. Oh my God! There's he wrote millions and millions of letters himself. Yeah, these people are crazy. I swear. You know what I mean?
So.
Also, there's a plague in Egypt as well at the time, a couple of hundred years after the Sahaba.
Yeah. So there was
many people died as well.
Yeah, there was plagues in Egypt. Imam Dhahabi, who was a student of Imam Shafi, rahimahullah, there was a plague there. In his book, he wrote that not a single masjid was left open during the plague then. That was a big plague.
And it was open for the 20th.
Yeah, so it's nothing new. Like these masjids being closed down due to plagues. I know it's alien to us, but it's happened in our history, Islamic history.
Yeah.
So it's happened there. Even in the Ottoman time, it was Mahmud III, who was the Sultan. And the interesting thing then was same thing happened. And the quarantine thing, even though obviously the text is going around, it was introduced by Ibn Sina. But apparently in the Ottoman lands, it was unheard of. they knew the Europeans were doing it, but the Ottomans never implemented quarantine.
That's strange.
Yeah. So that's the part of the research history that was done.
Because that gets passed around, that knowledge.
So at that time, the Italians were implementing it, and the Muslim scholars at that time was thinking, no, this is something alien to our tradition, and they weren't keen on it. But there were
herd immunity. That's what they was keen on.
So there was a certain scholar, and he, Hoja, I forgot the name. I didn't bring my notes with me, but he said, look, for my research, speaking with this doctors, the specialists regarding this plague, that we should introduce the quarantine. And the scholars who refuted him at that time, other scholars, they retracted their fatwas that we got it wrong. If we supported this scholar who said we should do the quarantine, we would have saved many lives. So that was in the time.
A lot of people died as well, didn't they?
Yeah.
In the times of the Sahaba, many people died. The Turkish virus, not Turkish, sorry, Egyptian one, many died.
Yeah.
Bodies were everywhere.
The Sahaba one, the Hazrat Umar time, it was called the plague of Amwas or Imawas. Amwas is a place in Palestine, which I've been. 15,000 approximately Sahaba passed away. Shaheed, they were through that plague, 15,000. And in total, another 10,000 from the Byzantine army, they also died as well. So nearly 25,000 died.
Dying from the plague is shuhada, is it?
Yeah. So the Prophet said to the effect that if you were to die in a plague with hope of getting reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then inshallah you'll be granted a state.
That's what some people were saying. Some people were saying to me, look, Muslim brothers were saying, look, if we catch it, we catch it with shaheed. But they were saying they wanted to run to the virus to become a shaheed. And I said, no, you can't run to it because you're causing harm to yourself. No. That's a form of suicide.
Then you're contradicting the hadith, and the hadith was clear afterwards that you don't enter the plague.
So in that context, right, this guy was saying to me, right, that he was going to run to the virus. That's a form of suicide, isn't it?
Yeah, that's suicide. You just can't make it suicide.
Daft, isn't it? I mean, some people just become shaheed, become shahada. I said, no, you won't. You're committing suicide by running to a virus.
Yeah.
Look, you're not in the area where the virus is. You're running to it. You're not shahada.
No, definitely. And even certain places where obviously the government gave some advice. So before, in the initial stages, they were saying, let's bring our own musallas to the masjid. So that was the first step. They started, don't use the wudu, places of wudu at home. So they had these precautions in the first steps. But alhamdulillah, the other masjids took even lead after that. Then they said, look, it's better if we just close it for now.
So to be true, the first was to close.
To retreat. Masjid Taqwa was, I think, one of the
first as well.
First masjid. Masjid Umar followed after that. Then slowly. So this is it.
So what advice can you give the brothers and sisters out there because of this virus? Because we're all locked up in the house now, what kind of advice would you give to them?
So the main advice is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He's, like I said, Allah tests us with amwal, with naqsim min amwali wal thamarat, that He will test us with our lives, with our deficiency in our wealth, and in even businesses, you could say. So this is a test from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And if we stay hoping for reward, and inshallah, then even if we were to die taking all the precautions, then inshallah we are shaheed. And obviously the Prophet ﷺ also said this, for every disease there's a cure.
Black seed oil. I've been taking it.
Yeah, black seed oil. So yes, obviously we should seek the prevention as well, and basically make a lot of dua at the same time for the world. So even our Prime Minister is not very well at the moment.
He's all right now, he's recovering. In this spare time that we've got now, right, because a lot of people are at home, they're not going to work, they're probably watching television a lot. What advice, what nasiha could you give them now while they're at home?
First and foremost, I've personally implemented in my house, I've made it my room into a masjid. This is my front room into a masjid. So we pray, have a timetable in a masjid, Fajr, Dhuhr, Asr, Maghrib, Isha. Make a timetable at home so everybody can pray Salah together. So that way we will not be missing out in Jama'at with Salah, inshallah. And there's many small posters going around how to be the Imam, etc., etc. So that's the first thing. So establish salah in your houses with Jama'at. That's my first advice.
Okay, that's great advice. Great advice. And what else? One more thing.
One more thing. Do something that you never done before. Read a hadith, one hadith. It might take you less than 5 minutes, 2 minutes. So inshallah, 2 minutes, read the hadith together after one salah, inshallah. So that's the advice. So Brother Riyaz, you can end with
basically saying what you said. I'm just practicing the dua that you could say when you're inflicted with illnesses and diseases. But anyway, we can continue that.
Yeah.
We start our show, because we've only got 10 seconds left. So anyway, Jazak khair for all those that listen, and we'll see you in Ramadan.
Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum.